This video is brought to you by Incogni. Stick around to hear more about the special offer they are providing to the entire Upper Echelon community. All right, not too long ago, I talked about the degradation of quality in AAA video games, quadruple A gaming, actually, if you ask Yves Guillemot, CEO of Ubisoft. However, that's only one side of the coin. I can talk about Skull and Bones, a game funded by government subsidies for 10 years and then unceremoniously kicked out on the curb, or I can talk about Suicide Squad, a AAA live service game from Rocksteady that has quite literally died already. If you don't believe me, it's got less than 400 concurrent players on Steam, with a 24-hour peak of only 500 after just over a month. But when talking about those games, make no mistake, there's a coexisting parallel reality here with absolutely incredible indie games that seems to be picking up the slack. Example number one, controversial as it is, would be Palworld. I say controversial because of the similarity between Pokemon models and pals, but the truth of the matter here, just going by raw numbers, fanbase feedback, and community support, is that Palworld is one of the most successful games of all time. At launch, the game had the highest initial sales ever on Steam, and one of the most important aspects we have to consider here is its price tag. Sure, the game capitalized on a multitude of contemporary trends, copied heavily from established IP, and had a red carpet rolled out for it through what's called earned media on a variety of platforms, but the price tag for this title was $26. Of course, that price tag contributed to a large number of players buying it, but price tag is now one of the greatest industry weak points, broadly speaking, subjected to the most egregious misrepresentations possible, as the community accepts something that does not need to happen, and should not be happening, as if it's a foregone conclusion. Skull and Bones, standard edition costing $60, premium edition $90. Suicide Squad, standard edition $70, deluxe edition $100. And those prices are becoming increasingly common. Here's the problem. Demonstrated quite clearly by shifted publisher revenue, the vast majority of income in the video game industry is now earned through a digital medium. That push has been going on for quite some time, seen as far back as 2018, when well over 80% of all sales were already digital. But the point I'm trying to make is that the shift from physical to digital fundamentally redefines the calculation parameters of price tag. The previous anatomy of a $60 AAA price tag was composed where at least $15 went to retailers. That number is actually quite comparable to what Steam gets right now, by the way, which many in the industry have argued is far too high. According to IGN, major retail companies like Amazon, Walmart, Best Buy, and GameStop take 30% of physical sales, just like Steam. And after that, there's distribution cost, excess inventory, and physical cost of goods, leaving the publisher with a maximum cut here of around $27 per game sold. That's less than 50% of the AAA price tag, but what happens when you make the shift from physical to digital? And what happens when you begin forcing players into your own proprietary storefront? Well, I'll tell you what happens because it's pretty simple. The distribution costs go down to pennies on the dollar. They still exist, mind you, and they're quite a bit higher when you make the game always online and try to force everything to become a live service model, sure. But the distribution costs go down dramatically because you're essentially just selling a key and letting people download a file instead of printing it up, packaging it, shipping it, and then sharing revenue with a storefront like Best Buy. After eliminating basically all of their distribution expenses and also their retailer cut as well in a lot of cases for publishers, they're left with a tremendously larger slice of the pie. And yes, when distributing through Steam, they still have that pesky 30% fee. But they are still, always, harvesting more money from the distribution and sale of video games now than they ever were before. Why am I saying this? Simple. As AAA video game publishers make more money, proportionally speaking, than ever before from selling their games, they are also raising the price. A lot of people might not be able to articulate why they feel this way, but the atmosphere of that product does not deserve that price tag is a growing mentality built on a pretty rock-solid foundation, where the audience is time and time again witnessing a schism between where it feels the industry should be and where the industry actually is. Today's video is brought to you by Incogni, which is all about online privacy and data protection. That's actually been one of my hobbies for a while now, owing to how important protecting your data is in the modern digital world. People call it digital gold, and there's a very good reason for that. Every single day, your data is at risk of being sold by third-party brokers or accessed without your knowledge in data breaches. Some people don't care about this, but they should care. The number of identity theft and general online scam victims is currently skyrocketing. And for anyone who wants to prevent that kind of thing, Incogni can help. Your personal information is everywhere, and not just in the archives of companies you know about or signed up for their service on purpose, but other data firms as well who then sell it all across the internet. For everyday users, it's a nearly impossible task to take any action because there are hundreds of these data brokers, and it's a near impossible process to contact them, fight objections, and get anything actually removed. However, Incogni does all of this for you quickly and easily. I've used it myself, it works quite well, and therefore gets my genuine seal of approval. The process is extremely simple. Sign up for the website, give them specific legal permission to work on your behalf, and let them know what kind of information they'll be having removed. After that, just sit back and watch them work. Aggregating this kind of service lets them streamline the process because most people as individuals just can't really do anything and don't have the time or ability to take any action. Using the link down below in the description and code Echelon at checkout, you'll get 60% off an annual subscription to Incogni. There's a lot more I could honestly say here. The services they offer and the value they provide is exceptional, but for the sake of time, I'll leave it at that. Again, link down below and promo code Echelon for 60% off your subscription. Big thank you to Incogni for sponsoring the channel. So, having talked about the issue of price tags, it's time to pull everything together and complete the picture, because hand in hand with the idea of raising prices when you don't need to is community respect. Every single multiplayer game on the planet, whether it's PvP, PvE, cooperative, competitive, massively multiplayer, all of it, every single one, every single multiplayer game lives or dies by its community. A strong community will propel a game to decades of popularity, and a weak one will drop it as fast as the next competing game is able to release. One thing I always like to highlight on that subject is modding, because any developer who prioritizes and supports their modding community is giving themselves a tremendous advantage when it comes to community building. But sticking with my example from earlier, Helldivers 2 is another polar opposite extreme when compared to the current AAA landscape. Helldivers 2 is, of course, wildly popular right now, but it's popular for reasons that I don't think AAA publishers have adequately understood. It's popular, in my view, largely because the audience feels respected. There are entire Discord servers dedicated to making platoons and organizing some sort of governmental hierarchy in the game. There's people role-playing and cooperating and simply enjoying themselves repeatedly because not only is the experience fun, but they also feel valued. In a way, that's an overarching gameplay choice as well, but more so than the numbers just going up and the planets getting freed or lost or what have you, the game doesn't make you feel like a pay pig. There's probably a better word than that, one with less underlying connotations, I suppose. But the gist of it is on point here, because Helldivers 2 is a $40 experience that quality-wise feels on par with pretty much anything we're getting right now out of the entire AAA cesspit. I don't know how to fully describe it, but something along the lines of a shift happened. AAA quality games started to become more greedy with less innovation, and indie games got hungry to make up the difference. At least that's how it feels. Maybe it all just boils down to risk tolerance. That's probably accurate, actually. I don't know. But AAA level experiences genuinely feel like they don't respect you, your time, or your wallet. Inversely, indie games often manage to exude an atmosphere of gratitude, kind of, I guess. It's obviously not that deep, and I'm kind of overthinking it here, but the small companies with a shoestring budget who decide to focus as hard as they can on just maximizing quality of experience are massively outperforming the big companies, especially in a relative sense, that seem to be maximizing everything other than actual player experience. Maybe some people aren't acutely aware of it on a conscious level, but if we stick with the idea that video games can be complex works of art, the comparison starts to make a lot more sense. On one side, the AAA side, that artwork is totally and completely commercialized in every sense of the word. Every single thing is being considered on the basis of how much money it can make, and every single thing has been streamlined by dedicated focus groups to be as lucrative as possible. Suicide Squad is a perfect example of this because it is now a total failure, despite being made as a game where its entire purpose was to last as long as possible and be played continuously. It wasn't made to be the best experience it could be and create enjoyment. It was made to capture attention via loot rarity curves and collectibles, all mashed in alongside repeated grinding, with the end goal of selling more in-game items. And yes, I know a lot of developers tried very hard to make this game as good as they could, but I mean, the base premise was flawed to begin with, and the entire thing is just lacking. I just have to be honest about that. Helldivers 2 was made to be fun, first and foremost. At least that's the atmosphere that I see. It was made to hold your attention, of course, and give you some sort of adaptable enemy presence, sure, but that's different than psychologically designing something just to hold your attention with gimmicks while selling you things. On top of that, it's a $40 game, which is $30 cheaper than this new normal for AAA gaming, which builds a sense of value from the very beginning because the horrible disconnect between price and experience is either massively reduced or gone altogether. That kind of subconscious comfort allows a healthy community mindset, and that's what we're seeing right now play out with Helldivers 2 and Palworld as they outperform literally everything around them, despite that competition being labeled by their creators as superior simply because it came from a company that did at one point make some good games and has the title of AAA. But more recently, they just threw a lot more money into the marketing, it seems. Side note, yes, I know there's some controversy in the Helldivers 2 community right now based on balancing and certain monetization decisions, but big picture, what I'm saying still holds true, even if the honeymoon period is less obvious than it was when I originally scripted this. In the end, indie games, by and large, at least quite a few of them, are becoming extremely dominant right now because they manage to check off the same sort of boxes that a theoretical AAA title should check off with a fraction of the resources. Instead of tripping every single negative psychological alarm in their player base, they actually help foster a sense of value and community simply by way of their fiscal decision making process. And all of it comes together, forming an experience that makes you feel enjoyment rather than a constant underlying sense of tedium. What I'm trying to say is that indie games very often still let you feel like a player instead of a product, and the benefits of that are consistently self evident. That's it. If you want to support the channel, please check out the links down below. Incogni, the video sponsor, of course, and more, such as a channel merchandise line. The spring collection is available for another couple weeks up until March 10th, and then it's going away. Also, locals, Patreon, etc., but I'll cut it there and stop rambling. As always, thank you all for watching, and have a nice night.